week on Coatings Decoded is Jennifer Tursi. She is the manager of technical committee operations at ASTM International. Hey, Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jack Walker. I greatly appreciate the time and opportunity to go over ASTM International as well as D01 Committee. So I'm very excited to be here.
I'm very excited to have you here. There's been a lot of discussion about ASTM in the industry, specifically coatings-wise, and so that's why I thought it'd be great to have you on. Let's talk a little bit as the manager for technical committee operations. Like, what's your day-to-day? What do you do?
I communicate with a lot of the stakeholders, the committee members. I have 10 committees, quite a lot of committees. And each committee has a different structure, a different designation of focus of information and details. And pretty much what I do is touch base with the main committee chair, the subcommittee chairs, the technical contacts that are working on specific standards and getting certain things organized and aligned for future ballots so that those particular items or I should say standards, go through the consensus process.
That is fantastic. You said consensus process, and we're going to get a little bit more into that. But I want to talk about ASTM D01, and that is specifically the paint and related coatings, materials, and applications. Obviously, we're a paint company, so that is the ASTM committee that we are the most involved with. So can you start by giving our listeners a brief overview of ASTM D01, the committee, and its primary focus area?
So D01 is a significantly long-standing committee with an enduring impact in the chemical field. The committee is focused on paint and related coatings, materials, and applications. The committee was actually formed in 1902. So D01 has grown to include over 500 members with about 40 different countries. And these experts are responsible for more than 625 standards focused on the classification, sampling, preparation, components, application, analysis, quality assurance, and end-use performance requirements of paints and coatings.
That's a lot. There's a lot to handle for this committee, and it's huge to be able to handle that. I mean, 40 different countries as well. I'd say you have a lot of vast opinions represented.
A lot of different opinions, different expertise, different knowledge base. You have a range of members that had just recently either graduated or are mid into their career or have very 40 plus professional experience within the industry. So there's a wide range of diversity and opinions and perspectives. And that's what makes D01 really great.
Yeah, I've often said that if you're new to any industry, the quickest way to learn is to join these types of committees because you have everybody from all across. Like you said, you can go and learn that 40-year veterans' opinions and things that they've learned just by participating in committee meetings. So right? Yeah.
Yep. So pretty much, I mean, also another point to add is it's not just domestic, it's international. So like I said before, it's 40 different countries. So you have different perspectives and each country has different levels of where they are within the standards and what type of feedback they are providing as well and how they're using those particular standards.
Right. And with so many countries and so many members and subcommittees, it does sound like there needs to be some structure to this D01 committee. How does it organize to handle such a wide range of topics within the coating industry?
So I think the fundamental element is the main area to focus on is D01 does have a main scope. So that provides a macro overview of what the committee consists of. From there, the subsets or subcommittees are then organized under the main committee to then focus on specific areas and development of new standards. So D01 right now has 34 subcommittees. Backtracking just a quick bit, the D01 main scope is focused on the development of test methods, definitions, practices, specifications, classifications, as well as guides that are related knowledge for paint, varnish, lacquer, printing ink, and other related coatings and materials in liquid, liquefiable, powder, or mastic form that are components thereof, preparation of surface to which such coatings are applied, as well as coating substrate systems and paint application tools. So it really covers a wide range of information in different subcommittees that are very focused on those specific areas.
Yeah, I think anybody who's ever attended some kind of subcommittee meeting can tell how focused they are and the passion within them and things like that. I have to admit, I wasn't very familiar with D101 before preparation for this podcast, and I was amazed at the level of depth that was covered by the subcommittees. There's everything that's kind of related to what we do. It feels like there's a subcommittee for.
No, there is. I mean, we even have a specific subcommittee on paintbrushes that are actually very focused on how their specific methods on and specifications on those paint application tools, as well as powder coatings and traffic coatings, things that we as end users in our day-to-day lives, we take advantage of, and we don't realize how crucially they're important to how we function just in a normal society. It's really fascinating coming across those particular standards and working on those standards. There are 625 standards. I have not read every single standard as of yet, but when we do have the opportunity to kind of review those standards, it's really fascinating, especially how they impact the industry as a whole.
Well, speaking of which, can you highlight a few standards developed by ASTM D01 that have had a significant impact on the industry?
Well, not only the industry, but manufacturers, applicators, and end users. So many of the D01 standards help paint manufacturers make products that meet customer expectations for quality and durability. So, for example, manufacturers often rely on test method D1475 that helps measure density of paints, inks, varnishes, lacquers, and components. Scratch and mar resistance is also a primary quality control requirement of paints and coatings. And D01 provides also a tape test for measuring adhesion by tape test, D3359. That's just to name a few. D01 also has responded to concerns about indoor air contamination caused by volatile organic compound, VOC, emissions from paints and coatings. In the United States, regulations limiting VOC emissions rely on D01 standards for measuring total volatile content, exempt solvent content, and paint or coating density. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency regulations reference many of the D01 standards as acceptable test methods for regulatory compliance.
Totally intertwined to everything that we do. And it's interesting, and I'm kind of going to backtrack here a little bit. The reason all these standards are used or referenced in these other standards, and it even goes to some what I like to call minimum performance standards that are put out by AMP, SSPC, and NACE before them. It's funny, even those standards reference back to an ASTM standardized test, because the purpose of that standard from ASTM in the first place is to try and create as much consistency from one lab to another when people are performing these different tests. It's to bring that normalcy, that standardization, so that we can compare the results or use those results in some kind of standardized method.
Correct. And all of that information, like I said before, within our subcommittees, we have a wide range that really organizes that information. So when you do become potentially an ASTM member or want to be participating, I know we're going to get a little bit more into details to that, but to our subcommittees within D01, it's a great opportunity to join not only the main committee, but then really where is your focus going to be within the subcommittees? Because the subcommittees really organize all of those standards in a really nice way based on the subcommittee scope. So you focus in on D0120 quality assurance statistics, D0123 physical properties of applied paint films, and D0124 physical properties of liquid paints and materials, D0125 evaluation of weathering effects, D0126 optical properties, D0127 accelerated testing, D0128 biodeterioration, D0131 pigment specifications, D0134 chemicals and hydrocarbon resins. And we also go down into ink vehicles and architectural coatings and traffic coatings, marine coatings. So anything that you can think of related to paint and coatings and how they're being applied is properly organized within this committee. In regards to artist paints and related materials, paint application tools, even focused on terminology, because that does have a macro effect within the industry, making sure that that language is universal.
Yeah, so you mentioned something about getting involved. So for our listeners who are considering getting involved, what advice would you give them about the benefits of participating in ASTM D01?
Well, I mean, there's different levels of getting involved. Membership is very important to ASTM International, but one thing I really want everyone to be aware of is that you don't have to be a member to participate. So, for example, one, you can log on to ASTM.org's website and proceed to ASTM standard tracking. So if there's a specific standard that you do utilize within D01 and any of the other committees, you can actually see where it is in the balloting process and receive notifications, because not everyone may have the bandwidth to actually volunteer their time to contribute to that level. So, and when a task group is generated for a particular standard or new development of a standard, anyone can be part of that task group. You don't have to be a member. So I think some of those fundamental details are forgotten. And that's one thing I want to stress. And if you do want to become a member, you can simply go to the ASTM.org and select Get Involved and preview the membership. So membership provides participation membership, organizational membership, informational membership, as well as student benefits as well. And that's where I want end users to be aware of the levels of different membership, to review that information before actually joining. And that's when you do become a member, then we do provide additional resources on how to navigate the platform and when ballots are coming out, when's the next committee week meeting with that particular committee. So they have a lot more access if you do become a member. And again, we do have quite a few non-members who do want to participate, and they do have the option of being a part of that task group, because I have quite a few non-members who are very interested in wanting to really delve into the work and not get into the weeds of going through that balloting consensus process. And even, let's say, if that particular member wants to provide feedback, they can do that through committee week and on the ballot as well. And we can go into details a little bit more. But the third feature that I do want to provide, all our ballots are, once it hits the society ballot, it goes on our public page and anybody can provide feedback on that particular item. So that is another way for non-members to engage, and other ways for participation before they become interested in wanting to join. That's great.
It sounds like whether you have the time to fully get invested or just participate or even throw an objection out there. It sounds like there's a process to do it. I was going to say, just because there's been an omission lately talking about ASTM standards and consensus, and I just want everybody to just be clear about the fact that this is definitely committee work. And even within the worlds of organizations and things like that, there are ways to debate what makes a consensus standard and things like that. I don't want to get into those weeds. It's just, it sounds like the committee really has a way to ensure the standards are developed that they're consensus based and incorporate a wide range of industry perspectives. It feels like that is part of your mission as you guys build these organizations and structures.
Correct. Yes. I couldn't agree more. And even if a person or an end user, let's say non-member, has a potential idea or concept or inquiry, that's where they can communicate with me as a staff manager. My contact information is on all of the public pages that I oversee for specific committees. So a lot of times I will receive those inquiries and I'll connect the dots for them so that they can have that strong liaison and bridge to communicate either with the sub-chair or the chair of the committee and see if there's any potential development. But the one thing that I really want to stress is that anybody can join ASTM as long as they're, they can participate at any level that they feel comfortable with. The only thing that if they do become a member, then they would eventually have to return ballots. They would have to complete that step. process.
That's ideal, right? Yeah.
But as long as there's an interest in the field covered by the committee's scope, anyone is eligible to join. And again, I do receive inquiries on specific standards, and that's where I kind of help that particular individual who is using the standard and has a technical question, and I can put them in contact with the sub-chair or the current person who's overseeing that particular work. But there's many, many benefits, and if anyone has any questions, I strongly encourage for the non-members to review that information first and then make the decision that's best for them.
Absolutely. So I think we've done a really good job of summarizing, at a 10,000 foot view, kind of all the things that happens within ASTM D01. I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, what would be the thing that you have found the most rewarding for yourself as you've been working with the D01 committee?
Working with different stakeholders, different perspectives, motivating the subcommittee chairs, wanting to either review a current standard or identify specific gaps within the standards that may need to be developed. Those are the things that are rewarding, especially when you're working on a standard or new standard for a couple of years and you've reached that finish line. Then it's, you're very excited. It's a feeling you can't really fully describe. I know that we're talking about standards, but I mean, it's an awesome feeling because the amount of work, time, energy, and dedication from all the members is amazing because everyone's volunteering their time. This is something that they're wanting to make the world better and aligning ASTM's missions and core values with what they want to achieve within the committee while going through the consensus process. Each project is a little unique and each day is definitely different. It's never the same within ASTM.
You're definitely doing the Lord's work for sure. Trying to organize these things and get everybody moving in the same direction sometimes can be a challenge. So we appreciate, from those of us, I am not personally, but there are members of TNEMIC who are on your committees, and we appreciate all the work that you do and everybody that at ASTM, the work that they do. Just real quick before we go, where do people go? We've said, it's ASTM.org to find the information about ASTM. You can Google D01. It'll take you right there. You can find Jennifer's email address. It's on almost every page associated with D01 while I was in there. So if you have any questions directly for her, you've heard she wants to hear from you. Jennifer, is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up today?
No, I look forward to receiving additional feedback, connection, contacts from non-members, or if they have any additional inquiries about the committee or the consensus process. But I'm really proud to be collaborating and working with D01. We've had quite a few major achievements and ensuring that standards are on the ballot to receive feedback. And also, one of our final major achievements was when ASTM International partnered with Global Alliance to eliminate lead paint. So that is a major deal for D01 and identifying not only D01 standards, but other committee standards and collaborating with other stakeholders that can be found within our newsroom. But I'm very excited, and I'm very excited to continue to work with D01 and collaborate with the committees.
Outstanding. Well, Jennifer, thanks very much for coming on the show, and keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. I greatly appreciate your time, Jack.